Hi everyone, welcome back. In today's video, we're going to learn how to make this beautiful draped dress with a lot of details. Okay, so if that is what you want to learn how to make for yourself in details, then keep watching this video to the very end. Firstly, we're going to be starting from our basic bodice, which is starting from your shoulder to wherever you want your hemline to stop. Now on my sleeve, I'm going to be labeling front and back, so I do not make mistake or put the wrong sleeve to the wrong side of the bodice. All right, and I also went ahead to make the center of my sleeve obvious. You want to do this because we are going to be forming a cape. So after that, I'm going to be attaching the front part of my sleeve like so to the front bodice on this side, and I'll use my sellotape to hold it down. You want to hold this down firmly so it does not move around. So I've held it down firmly. Now I'm going to be 1 inch on my shoulder like so. This is because I don't want it to be an off shoulder. So but if you want an off shoulder, you should go by your center sleeve. Now on my center sleeve, I'm making 5 inches. This is how wide I want the cape of the sleeve running through the arm to be 5 inches wide. Now on this part of the shoulder, I'm also going to be marking 1 inch, thereby forming a neckline from this part to this part, which is going to be our neckline for this dress. So you're going to be determining the depth of your neckline. You don't want to go so deep because if you go so deep, you're going to contour. So you don't want to go so deep. Here from the basic neckline, I'm marking 2.5 inches extra, making it 5.5 inches. So I'm going to be connecting those points like so, which is going to be forming our current neckline for this particular dress that we are drafting right now. If you've not subscribed to this channel, please do want to subscribe so you'll be the very first person to know when I post new videos like this. Click the bell notification icon. So this very part I'm marking now is where we are going to be having that gathered effect of the cape. So you can decide to mark wherever. Now on the other part of the basic bodice front, I'm also going to have to attach my sleeve, all right, so that we can form our cape. I'm doing this thing so you guys will follow, so you don't get confused. We've already marked the 1 inch at the shoulder, so I'm also going to mark 5 inches also. That is how wide I want the cape at this part to also be. Now we're going to be connecting those 5 inches points from this part of the sleeve to the other part of the sleeve. Now at the center, I'm going to be marking how wide also I want my sleeve to be. I also mark 5.5 inches. So we're going to be connecting the whole 5.5 inches together from one point to the other point, all right? I'm going to be dropping the link of the sewing tutorial of this video that I made previously a long time ago on this channel. So I'll be dropping the link in the comment section below. All right, so you want to check that one. You're going to be seeing the sewing, and also I also drafted the pattern there, especially for the lower part of it. So you want to also check that out. Now I'm going to have to trace this out. I included the darts. Whenever you're tracing out anything from your pattern, include the darts that went in there, because at the point of using the traced pattern, you might decide to close the dart. So if you do not trace it out, it's going to be a problem for you. So just trace it out, even if you're not going to need it, just trace it out. So we'll set that aside and we'll go ahead to detach the sleeve from the bodice so we can work on just the bodice alone. So now we're having only our bodice. I'm going ahead to cut out the neckline. I'm going ahead to cut out the neckline, okay? So at this point, this is what it is looking like. Now from this very point, I'm going to be marking 1.5 inches upwards from the waistline. I'm going to be connecting it to the tip of the dart like so, okay? You want to take note of everything I'm doing. Now from here, I'm moving 1 inch upwards, and I'm also going to be connecting it to where that very other one stopped, like so. Now the next thing we are going to do is from that very point, I'm going to be marking 3 inches. You want to connect these 3 inches to this point of the dart like so. And I'll use my marker to kind of highlight those lines I drew now. Can you see that? So now from here, you want to draw in your star lines for the slash and spread. This tutorial is a very technical one. I'll advise you go and watch that video that I'm dropping, that I dropped the link in the comment section where I sewed it. I also drafted the pattern, especially for the lower part, so you would kind of understand properly. So I went ahead here to draw in the bow tie. I didn't know I was not filming, sorry, but it's not something that very technical. I just drew in the bow tie. And now this one went into the waistline. Please watch very well. That bow tie went into the waistline and the other part of this one. So those are the bow tie. I attached an extra pattern paper. If you like, you cannot attach. I just attached just a very little that went away from the bodice. Now we are going to be cutting this very part first. As you can see, a part of the dart went into that. Not even a part of the dart, a whole lot of this dart. When we take it away, you see. Can you see the whole part of the dart that went in there? All right. We are going to be cutting that away. This is a fitted dress. Despite the drapes, you have to remove every dart. So we've cut the dart aside. And you want to label, because if you keep this way, you might not know where it's facing the upper bodice and where it's facing the lower bodice, and where you're supposed to join at which part, at what point in time. So you have to label properly so you don't get confused. Whenever you pick up this and you're sewing, you know what you're doing. So I've labeled and I'm going to set that aside. And this very part, you're going to be extending it all the way to your hemline. If you want to add a slit, it's up to you, right? So the next thing I'm going to do is to cut this part away. We're going to be cutting it out right now. So I also set it aside, okay? This one is easier to identify while sewing, so I didn't label it. I think it's easier, but if you have any issue, you can as well go ahead to label it. Now, the next thing we're going to do is to start closing up our dart. Like I said, this is a fitted dress, so you want to close up every necessary dart. Please do well to watch the video of the link I left in the comment section. It will give you more insight on this dress, especially if you want to recreate this. It's going to help you for more understanding, okay? So I'm going ahead to, I opened that dart, I close it up. Same thing I'm going to be doing to the side bust dart. I went ahead to open it up like so. And now this is what it looks like. Also go ahead to open up the side bust dart on this side. I will go ahead to close it up also. So I'm going ahead to close it up. And at this point, this is what we are having, okay? Now, if you watch the very picture we are creating on the screen, there is a way it looks as if the first drape overlapped the upper bodice, like it wasn't stitched on it. I'm going to show you how they came about that. Please, you want to watch that video that I dropped the link in the comment section for the sewing tutorial that I did a long time ago. So I'm going ahead to trace out this very portion. It's going to help that overlap effect. So I traced that from this point to my waistline. From that very first drape line to my waistline, I traced it out. All right. So I'll be showing you what we are going to do with it. I also included the darts that were in that portion or that part where I traced out. So I'm going to be setting that aside right now, or I'll just go ahead and label so I'm not confused on where is where and all that. So I'm going ahead to label. So I'm sure that this is what it is. I'll set it aside also. So now, of course, we'll go ahead to start cutting our drape lines. Please, you want to watch that video that I dropped the link in the comment section. I sewed it there, okay? I made the sewing there. So you want to watch it. I did that, I think, about a year ago or 2 years, I think a year ago. So you want to go check it out, please. So I'm cutting out on this very waistline now. Okay, like I'm separating it on this waistline now. We'll come back to that later. So you guys, you want to take note of that waistline. It's very important. You want to take note of that waistline. It's very, very important, right? So I'm going to be cutting out from here also right now. And I'm going to be joining this to the other part. So someone might be wondering, why did you cut it out at first? I want to lay emphasis on that waistline. That waistline is very important. It's what is going to help you to achieve that overlap effect in front. It made it look professional and very beautiful. Like there is no stitch. You're not going to be seeing any stitch whatever there. So I haven't cut our slash and spread. You want to close up the darts. Of course, you can see our darts are still there. We are going to eliminate the darts. And this is what you're going to do to eliminate that. You want to cut it open and tape it down with your sellotape like so. So that is what I did to the rest of them. As you can see, I've closed up all the darts. And this is what they all look like. Now, that very portion that I traced out, I used a dotted point on it, so you know that that was the portion I traced out. It still had the dart, so I'm going to be opening the dart and closing it up like we did for the part where we traced it out from, so everything can be in alignment. Now, what you're going to do is, you want to tape this down in such a way that when you flip it over, all right, something like this, when you flip it over, you can turn it inwards and it will not have any stitch. You have to tape it down like this on your paper. Then when you cut on your fabric, you just mark a notch. When you cut on your fabric, you flip it over and give it a good press. There is no sewing stitching there. Please watch that video in the comment section. It will help you understand it better. All right, I sewed it there so it will help you understand. So now you're going to be taping this down. If it looks like it's getting bulgy, please cut open until it's flat. Whatever excess fabric or whatever you feel that is an excess fabric that is coming out, just let it be. Since it's a kind of drape, you also use it to form the drape. All right. So at this point, I'm trying to lay it all down. This is what it should look like when you're kind of trying to sew it. That very part now will not have any stitch on it. So I'm going to be using my pattern paper to put this on top of it like so. So I'll slash and spread now. Sorry, I've already slashed. I'm going to be spreading it out on this fresh pattern paper, right? I didn't actually use any measurement for this, but you want to spread, let's say, around between 3 inches to 4 inches, so you have enough things to fold over or to drape. You have enough fabric to drape. So I'm going to be closing this like so, and that is what I'm going to be doing for the rest of them, okay? When I close it like so, I'll use my sellotape to hold it down. And same thing also I'm going ahead to do here right now, like so. When you're sewing also, this is what you should do. Please, you want to go ahead and watch the sewing that I dropped the link in the comment section. So at the end, this is what we are having. I'll go ahead now to use my scissors to cut out all the excesses. So at this point, this is what, remember you're going to open this up. When you want to sew it on your fabric, you open it up. All right. So here now, we're going to be closing the waist dart for this very part. So now we've closed it up, and now when you want to join this part, you're not going to sew it up, no. What you're going to do is that very part, you get it open. So you're going to be joining this like so. Of course, you're doing this on your paper, all right? You do this on your paper before cutting to the fabric. All your flats, you have to lay them down. All your darts, sorry, you have to lay them down flat. Even these drapes, you have to open them up, okay? So you lay these flats. You join this. So by the time you join this, of course, when you're cutting on your fabric, there's no going to be joining at the waistline, right? There's no going to be joining because you've used your paper to cover up those stuffs. Use your paper to cover it up. And by the time you use your paper to cover it up and you cut it out on your fabric, someone might be wondering, so how are we now going to sew it? I'm going to show you right now in this video. So you just want to mark your notches and then fold this over. When you're sewing, just take this part and fold it over. Please watch that video in the comment section. Please do well to watch it. You just take it and put it all over on top of this. Where you're going to be sewing now, inwardly is the waistline where the two waistline meet. Of that dotted part and the waistline of the upper bodice where they meet inside, that is where you're going to sew, and it's not going to be showing outside. So of course, when you sew your back and the front side seam together, that part is going to lay flat. So at this point, this is what we are having. So the next part you're going to join, that very bow tie that we took from the very front part of it, you're going to be attaching it to the waistline of your upper bodice first before you go in to do the whole fall over dart shenanigans. Please, you want to attach it first because remember I said we traced it out from the waist, so it has to be inside, and that fall over stop will cover it. All right, just exactly as we are seeing it in the picture on the thumbnail. You just have to sew it inwards first before that whole thing will cover it. All right, before that hole is going to lay on top of it. So I just marked that straight line, so you know that with my marker, so you know that that's the bow tie. Please watch that video in the comment section. Click on it and watch it to help you. So the next part you're going to sew is this very part. You want to sew this part to the bodice. All right, now you want to also go ahead to attach this. Please watch that video. I sewed it, how to attach that bow tie and that other very part. Please, you want to watch that video in the comment section so you see the sewing of how I attached that very bow tie and the other part of this very side. All right, you want to watch the video in the comment section. So at this point, this is what this very stage of this dress is looking like. So now we'll go over to the cape. All right, this is what the cape looks like. I didn't bother closing up the dart or whatever. I thought it wasn't going to be all that necessary. Like, I just left it. But you can still close up your dart, okay? Now, the part where we marked that we want to gather the cape into, you're going to be gathering it into it like so on your neckline. Then, of course, you should get a band that you will use to close it, a band that will fit it firmly, that you will use to hold it together, all right? Then you go ahead to stitch this to your neckline. You go ahead to stitch this to your neckline. Okay, I'm using a paper here and it's rigid, so I do not want it to tear or whatever. So can you see that? You're going to be stitching this to your neckline. So that cape went all the way to the back. If you've been watching my tutorials where I made cape, you should know that you're going to be joining at the center sleeve. If you do not want to use your paper to hold them together, you go ahead to join them at your center sleeve. So this is what it's looking like right now. And please do well to click the link in the comment section to watch the video that I told you about for a proper sewing tutorial of the lower part of it. And I'll see you in my next tutorial. Bye.